Kindy Rockstars. Prepare for a treat, let's meet and greet some bands and singers that are super sweet, making music that's fun for boys and girls. Help them learn about this great big world. Fun for the family, yes it's true, your kids will love it and you will too. Clap and dance and sing aloud, become a part of the Kindy crowd. These songs will make you move your feet and give your ears a great big treat. So settle in, grab your guitars, and let's get to know our Kindy rock stars. Hello everyone, and welcome to Kindy Rockstars. This is the show that gives you the stories behind the songs from some of the best bands and singers that are making fun, informative, educational, catchy, and occasionally silly songs for children and families. I'm your host, Patrick Adams, and each episode of Kindy Rockstars will feature an artist and a featured song. So let's get to this week's show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kindy Rockstars. I am really happy today to have a returning guest to the show, POCO DROM. And before we get into our interview today, please go back and check out episode 26 of season 1, where we did POCO DROM song, G Up. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. All right. So what have you been up to since we last talked?
Wow. It's been kind of crazy. I mean, the biggest thing, the most momentous thing that's happened in our kind of world is we had a baby.
Congratulations.
So
I remember the conversation from season 1. I think she was still pregnant.
Yeah. And so now we have, as well as our eldest little boy, who is 5.5, we now have a 5-month-old, which you think when it's the second one, you kind of know what you're doing and you're kind of prepared for it, and it's all going to go kind of swimmingly and smoothly. And to an extent it has. But everything has changed. Everything has changed over this last year, and things, music-wise, things have maybe taken slightly longer than they would have if there wasn't a new baby in the mix. So the new baby has been the biggest thing. And because of the new baby coming along, we also did quite a lot of renovations on our house, which is a tiny house. I think we probably talked about this last time, but we live off grid in a tiny house. So we had to extend the tiny house to a slightly large tiny house, still tiny, but larger tiny. And so, that we did all that ourselves. So that really kind of like took a while and took over kind of everything. And whilst that was all going on, I managed to finally get the album finished that I've been working on through the whole of lockdown, through the whole of kind of COVID. The whole thing has been working on this project, putting this album out, as well as some other kind of standalone singles as well. So finally the album, Fuzz Drops Panda Pops, we decided to delay it till this year, which meant we could put some more new songs on, because I'm constantly writing songs. And so I kind of went, okay, we'll delay it till next year. We'll put these 3 new tracks on, one of which we're gonna hear today. And so it means that now it kind of feels like things are happening. I say that tentatively, but it feels like spring is here, and we're booking shows and the world is turning, and it feels like we're getting back to it. So new baby, new album. That's it in a nutshell.
Lots of big changes. I remember the biggest dynamic change with a second child is that, if your first child is old enough, you as parents take care of the new baby, but so does your firstborn. So that was kind of a neat and fun dynamic. But no matter how many kids you have, a new baby will always just be a welcome chaos into the house.
Welcome chaos. That sums it up perfectly. Welcome chaos. It's been good. I think because our little boy is our oldest little boy, because he's 5.5. He's been amazing, and he's been so good, and he's been so supportive, and he loves his little brother, and he's been very sweet. We've got 2 very sweet, kind of loving boys, and that was something I was, really. I hope that continues, and that's something we try and instill in them. So, but yeah, welcome chaos sums it up perfectly.
Well, listening to some of your new stuff, I wanted to bring this up because your songs, I love your songs. I love the sound. I love the synths that you incorporate into your songs, because like I am a child of the 80s. That's when I became a music fan. And, Eurythmics, Duran Duran, all these like really fun songs that were driven by synths. And even my new album that I'm working on, it's all over the place. I just couldn't help it. But talk about your musical influences and how they're kind of driving what you're doing now.
Synths and kind of 80s, that kind of 80s electro stuff. Bands like Erasure and kind of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and as you say, Duran Duran. And yeah, because I grew up, I was born in, I'm going to say when I was born in 79, but I grew up with two older sisters. So I got into music at a really, really early age. I remember having a 7-inch single for Christmas, and it was Starship, We Built This City on Rock and Roll, which I thought was like super cool. But I recently found out apparently it's like was voted like the cheesiest, trashiest song ever or something like that.
There's a bit of cheese to it, but it's still, I liked the song when it was out.
Exactly. I loved it. And I got it on 7-inch. So from an early age, I was really into music. And yeah, all of that kind of 80s stuff that I heard, Culture Club, and yeah, so many of those acts, and they had like a massive influence on me. And also just good songwriting, like songs that kind of stuck, like you think of a song like Electric Dreams or something like that, just sticks with you. And so that had a massive influence on me. And then as I got older, I kind of was into so many genres when I was younger, and had, as a lot of teenagers do, had multiple kind of phases, but was always into guitar driven music as well. And then kind of late discovered grunge and kind of alternative. Like over here, it was obviously like Britpop in the UK was the big thing. And I was never massively into Britpop, but anything that was guitar driven, I loved. And so the new kind of, because so many people knew me for the acoustic kind of folky stuff that I did before, the new sound is very much driven by me and kind of my influences growing up, and the music that I still listen to all the time. And I kind of went, I'm listening to this stuff. I want to put this, like you kind of said, I want to put this into what I'm creating, because I want to be playing it. I want to be playing music that sounds synthy and sounds like distorted guitars and gets me jumping up and down. And that led to this kind of sound. And I always say it, and I'm repeating myself, but if I was creating music for adults, purely adults, and not family music, it would sound exactly the same. And it would still probably be about animals, because I like animals, so I don't think it would be, it just wouldn't be any different. It's like, this is just me. It's like, I like writing songs about unicorns and pandas and squirrels, and I like distorted guitars, and I like, kind of 80s sounding synths. So yeah, so I'm just, yeah, I really feel happy with how it sounds, when you kind of create a project and you go, yeah, this is it. I always think like as soon as I finish an album, I'm always thinking about the next one. But in terms of the last 2 years, in terms of the sound and how we've kind of crafted it and how it's turned out, yeah, I love it. I know it's my music. I don't know whether that's like corny to say it, but I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, I like making music that I myself like to listen to. So it's good stuff. And I love your conversation about Britpop. In the 90s, I think I went through a couple of phases, and you're in the UK, so I know Britpop was huge. Here in the early 90s to mid 90s, it was all about grunge. It was all about Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, all sorts of really, really great bands. But I found myself growing tired of that. And then I discovered Britpop. And so for a period of time, I really got into Blur and Oasis and Robbie Williams and a bunch of other fun UK acts. So the 90s were a bit weird for me, but I'm influenced now by all of it because I'm still a huge fan of Robbie Williams. I don't know if you're, I know he's huge over in the UK, almost anonymous here, but I love him. And I went and saw him live here in Las Vegas, and I'm just a huge fan of his. And
he puts a great show on as well. His shows are phenomenal. I remember when he did Glastonbury going back, and yeah, when he had that kind of he had like a full band, like a proper full band, and yeah, it was phenomenal. But there was some great music. I mean, even as I say, like I wasn't hugely into Britpop, but I mean, I was, and bands like say Oasis and Pulp were amazing, and Kula Shaker were another one who were phenomenal. Kula Shaker were the first kind of proper band I ever saw live was Kula Shaker, and they were supported by another band called Space Hog, who were wonderful. There's a Welsh band called Super Furry Animals, who were so good as well. And yeah, the whole Britpop thing was amazing. What it kind of lacked for me, I was maybe a bit younger when Britpop came out, and I didn't really start going. I had quite a strict upbringing, strict parents, so I didn't really go to shows, to bands, until I was kind of 17, 18. But what I found, particularly when I started a kind of a kind of alt punk band back in the day, in the 90s, was that there wasn't really that kind of like grassroots scene. Like when you compared it to, when I think about the, kind of watching documentaries about kind of grunge or kind of like hardcore in America and things like that, it always seemed like there were the fanzines, and there were the small kind of independent labels, and as a band there was a real kind of series of stepping stones that you could go through, and it never kind of felt like that happened with Britpop. I think it got so big so quickly, and it became these kind of like superstar bands like Blur and Oasis. But yeah, but all of that, I think everything that you listen to and everything that that I've been into, I kind of got into stuff just by chance. Like I might have listened to a band on the radio, because back then there's no YouTube. You can't just go on Spotify and look a band up. So it's literally often circumstance where bands you happen to listen to or happen to come across on TV, and you go, oh, that's great. So you buy their album. And if you hadn't have turned the TV on at that time, you never would have bought that album, and it might not have shaped you in the way that it did. But yeah, everything influences you. And yeah, so much of that 80s and 90s stuff. It's all in there. It's all in there.
Yep. Well, I could go down this rabbit hole for hours on
me too.
90s British bands and grunge. And yeah, I think the 90s were probably the era that I was just the most into music, the most into discovering bands. And just like you said, to listen to a new band, sometimes you either had to hear them on the radio, you had to be lucky enough to see a music video on TV, or you just go into your music store and hope they have like a listening station where you could go check these bands on. Otherwise, never would have discovered them. And I can't remember how I first discovered Robbie Williams. I might have been reading a magazine, Q magazine. I know the magazine's huge over there, and there was like this really big story on him. And I think I just picked up the magazine on because it had like this list of the 100 most decadent acts in rock and roll. I was like, okay, this is just be fun reading. But then it had like a story about Robbie Williams. So I was like, all right, well, sounds interesting. I'll go check him out. That's how I got into him. And really, really funny story about his concert here in Vegas, because he definitely is in on the joke of how he never broke the US in the way that he did the UK. Sure. There was a setup in it's at the Wynn Hotel, and it's got, I think, like 2 Santa Clauses. One of them has a bag that's just full of letters that says Robbie's UK fan mail. And then there's another bag that's completely empty, minus like 2 or 3 letters, Robbie's US fan mail.
I kind of, though, I love that thing of when bands are massive, because there's obviously there's like other bands, maybe like Bush. I think Bush were really big in the States, weren't they? And they were
for a while
big over here, but never. I don't think they were ever as big over here as they were in the States. I always think that's really funny. I mean, I get, mainly because of the lack of kind of kindie kind of family music scene over here, but so much I do so many more kind of like podcasts, and I get so much more radio play in the States than I do in the UK, because there just isn't there isn't the scene over here in the same way there is for you guys. So yeah, I'm like the opposite of Robbie Williams, but on a much smaller scale.
One day you'll be there.
One day.
All right, you ready to get into your songs?
Yeah, let's do it.
Our song today is called Rainbow Pandas. All right, tell us a little bit about this song.
So this song is the new album is called Fuzz Drops Panda Pops. And this is kind of the title track. It's not the title track, but it kind of is. And it's all about kind of being an individual, being your best self. It's a panda who doesn't want to be black and white. So, or a bunch of pandas who don't want to be black and white. And it's saying you don't need to be, you don't need to conform. And if you don't conform, and you are different, that there are others out there who are also like that. It's got the line in it, we are not on our own, and you're not. There's loads of people out there who are different. There's loads of people who don't want to be black and white and want to be all different colors of the rainbow. So embrace it, because you're not on your own. And also on this song, talking about British music, we have the guest vocalist on this is Mandarin, who was in the Scottish electro pop indie band Biss, who from the 90s, who I think they were signed to Grand Royale, the Beastie Boys label, and they did the theme tune on the Powerpuff Girls movie. And they were kind of in with those kind of Riot Girl, kind of like alternative pop bands of the 90s. So yeah, Mandarin did guest vocals on this, which was amazing for me, and just blew me away. So yeah, this is the kind of like the flagship song off the album, we'll say.
Excellent. All right, well, let's check it out. Here is Rainbow Pandas by POCO DROM.
Don't care what you want.
So, POCO DROM, let everybody know where they can stream and download your stuff and where they can find and connect with you on social media, and then what's next for you.
So if you go to Spotify, just look for POCO DROM on Spotify, POCODROM. You'll be able to stream the new album from the 30th of April. If you go to POCODROM.com, you can find all the links to all my social media, or just search POCO DROM on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And yeah, there's a pre-save link to the album there as well. So if you're hearing this before the 30th of April, go and pre-save it and add it to your favorites. And yeah, I can't wait for everyone to hear it when it comes out. It's been a lot of work. So I'm hoping it has everyone dancing around and everyone enjoys it as much as we enjoyed making it.
I imagine it will, if these first couple of tracks are any indication. All right. Well, POCO DROM, thank you once again for coming back on the show. Love having you on. Love talking to you. And best of luck with everything. And especially with the new baby.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.